On today's episode, I'm so excited to have Rob Price. He is the Chief Customer Officer of YEB. He leads the marketing efforts to grow the brand awareness of YEB and its family of brands. Most recently, he served for 7 years as the president and CEO of School of Rock. He has decades of experience leading youth-focused programs, and a father of three, he offers a wealth of knowledge on critical topics like youth resilience, mental health, and anti-bullying. He's overseen the development of more than 1 million kids through programs like Nike's US Sports Camps, I9 Sports, and School of Rock. And he can really speak to the role parents play in fostering emotional strength. Rob shares his love of music with his wife and their 3 adult sons. When in their hometown of Nashville, they will most likely be found at a rock show, bluegrass jam, or jazz club. Thank you so much, Rob, for being here. I'm so excited to chat about everything from balancing competence and confidence and all of your experience you have that we just heard. I'm kind of in awe of all the roles you've played and what you've probably seen in those roles.
It's been a journey, and we have a huge footprint where we're affecting a lot of children's lives. I have 3 of my own. They're grown adults now, but when people ask me how many kids I have, I say 1,000,003.
Yes, just 1,000,003. I love that. Yeah. Yes, because I mean, it sounds like you obviously take a lot of pride in what you do, and I love that you touch on just resilience, mental health, anti-bullying, and are able to really incorporate all that into the programs you've served on. Yeah. So let's talk more just like that balancing of competence and confidence. What kind of insight can you give us parents?
Well, it's as I think about some of the themes you talk about in your pod, these are recurring topics, which is how do you prepare kids for excellence and for success and for proficiency. And I think that the natural balance to that is how do you maintain their sense of self and comfort and confidence. And I feel like we've struggled with that as an enterprise in our various businesses, School of Rock and US Sports Camps and I9, Streamline. And what we found is that the two actually can work extraordinarily complementary. That we think that that confidence is the ballast. It is the groundwork for competence. And that too many programs, academic programs, extracurricular programs, are so focused on racing to outcomes on competence, they forget to build the groundwork. And so we have not only a philosophy around it, it's part of our curricular design.
Okay.
And we can talk more about how that comes to life, but we are voting with our feet in terms of how our business is designed, the architecture of it, to start with confidence and to deliver competence as effectively, if not more effectively, than other alternatives.
I'm really just resonating with the idea of having confidence before competence, because it reminds me a lot of the growth set module that we learned from Stanford, and that it's really about the process and just how, because those that are actually like really not so focused on the outcome actually are going to do better when things get hard. So if we have that confidence, it sounds like the competence is going to follow. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I'll use the School of Rock as an example, and just for your listeners, the School of Rock's, an independent physical location, and kids will come in. And of course, we do weekly lessons, individual lessons, but the real point of difference is we'll put them in a rehearsal room every week, and they're working 12 weeks towards a show. So they join a band. And so how that comes to life in a very practical way is that by putting them in a performance environment, on a team, in a group, and in a rehearsal room where the risks of failure are exceptionally low, but the sense of group accountability and the group dynamics and support around individual development is established as the base architecture. What that then does is it lowers the stakes of failure, which increases the likelihoods of success.
Got it.
And so the kid now is working towards this group outcome,
Hmm.
is working towards a show. They're competing against themselves more than they are competing against others. And so, and this is the same logic that we bring to I-9 in our leagues, is it's supposed to be fun.
Okay.
We get them on the field immediately,
Right.
and the skills training is taught in the context of the field. The teams are never fixed. So
Mm.
there's never a situation where folks, there is a sense of, um, an ultimatum from a result standpoint. There's
Okay.
always another chance to play. And so we find by setting that comfort, building a community, and then saying, okay, we're going to learn these proficiencies together. And you're going to actually have the opportunity to demonstrate these proficiencies in a supportive environment. We think that's deeper rooting for the
Okay.
competence.
Okay. So having that accountability, that community, that group kind of mindset by, I like what you said, they're competing against themselves really as opposed to others in that sense, in that group. And that's where the proficiency we're going to start to see that proficiency. And I'm just curious because I think of sometimes groups can intimidate other people, right? Like if you think about some people not pulling their weight, like on a team, right? And I'm trying to,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit different with like group projects versus like a team sport or something like that, or like you said, a team band or
Yeah.
performance. But
Chelsea, it's such a great observation, because you could very realistically critique the case I'm making and say, well, I could see how that could be devastatingly
mhm.
uncomfortable for a student if they're all of
Yeah,
a sudden thrown into a group and that
yeah,
group is not actually demonstrating the behaviors of competence. So this can't work without cultural architecture in an
okay,
organization or in a
okay,
household or in a school,
right, right,
which is you actually have to have norms, expectations, oversight,
hmm,
um, progressive discipline,
right,
expectations, physical environment. Literally think about what the environment is, the language
right,
system, so that what happens in that room is the rehearsal is there
okay,
to create community,
hmm,
and that the outcome of that will be an incredible performance, as opposed to you are here, we're driving for proficiency outcomes
hmm,
today.
right,
So I do think that the more abstract part of this, the harder part of it, is in any organization or cohort,
hmm,
is building the culture that this is what we're trying to do, not
right,
just that it doesn't go on autopilot by any
right,
means. I think a lot of team-based activities would claim they are doing this, but their
okay,
culture is around the team winning,
got it,
as opposed to the team thriving.
got it. Yeah, so that can be translated into the household, like you said, in terms of the household culture or values and like really thriving on that confidence and that, right, that team, like the community within your family versus maybe outcome, or like you said, like I know I'm trying to see if there's similarities where we can apply this in our household versus,
I,
right?
I
But
I think there are, and I think about that all the time as a parent. Even
yeah,
with my kids now being grown-ups.
right.
It's the analogy that I think of is, let's say you've got a family of three little ones,
Okay.
and so you've got a band. I mean, you've got the band. You've got,
Right.
whether it's a one-parent household or two-parent household. You've got the two adult units and the three young units, and there's a big difference between saying to those three kids who can clean up their room fastest,
Okay.
um, which instantaneously makes it oppositional.
Right.
It will drive. You'll get the Darwinian effect,
Hmm.
but another great way to do it might be to say, okay, we're a band. How could we do this in the most creative way? How could this be the most epic room cleaning experience we could ever have? Whose room should we start with?
Right.
Or, hey, let everyone switch rooms, or come up with the craziest idea to organize, to organize your tasks. Um, so uh, it's always outcome oriented,
Right.
but it's the idea of winning as a team,
Got it. That makes
and that the
sense.
community is the thing that can't be violated.
I love that. Yeah, I love that because it's so that I think can be such a natural instinct to put some natural competition into the household to just kind of get things done. But what a way to actually just spin it and say we're
Yeah.
still striving for the same outcome and a fast outcome if we can, but we're going to do it together as opposed to racing against each other.
I think the other part of this competence challenge, the confidence and competence paradox in a household setting is indeed what we see on one of our sports teams and in Nike sports camps, or what we see at School of Rock in one of our bands, is that every one of those children presumes they are not the favorite.
Okay.
They presume that the mechanism to earn favoritism and regard is performance. And honestly, if we're honest with each other as adults, we do have favorites.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this is about ensuring that our language system and our cues don't inadvertently elevate one versus the other. Who gets to speak first? Who gets to speak last? Who gets the most vibrant body language response, etc. So
Right.
the point about culture, the point about norms in any unit, whether it's a family or a school room, classroom, or it's a sports field, is that you really have to say that the unit of analysis is the community, is the cohort, is the team, and that you want to make sure that there isn't a loss of confidence that emanates from people feeling as if they don't have a role to play on the team. They're not equivalent. They're just the bass player.
Right.
Which many bass players sometimes will complain. It's like, I never get to do a solo. I never get to stand in front.
But it doesn't sound the same without the bass player.
No. And so I think you just demonstrated a great mechanism by which to build confidence amongst that, so one of your kids is going to be in a household is going to be the bass player. One is the guitar, one is the drums, lead singer, keyboard player. They are fundamentally different roles. Proficiency in each of those dimensions are radically different.
Right.
The drummer, you don't want to be seen. You want them to be keeping time, where the lead vocalist needs to have, but for everyone feeling as if this is a group work, that we're building towards an outcome that is more perfect through everybody's unique contributions. And by the way, I think, by means of talking about analogies, I think using the analogy for a family of a band or a sports team is an epically awesome way to do it, because they can see a band on TV.
Right.
They can see a sports team on field local, and they can say, notice that the goalie and the person in the front are doing really different things.
And they're both integral. They're both, right? They both have a very specific role, but it's also, like you said, it's apples and oranges. You can't necessarily compare them, but they're still, without one, your team isn't the same. So
right. We've got two kids. They're really not kids anymore. Two former students at School of Rock who are up for Grammys right now. And they're behind the scenes. They're working with Willow Smith.
Nice.
They did production and performance, and they were on Saturday Night Live, but no one's watching them.
Right.
They're watching Willow.
Right.
Now, Willow's got that badass grill, and she's Willow, for heaven's sake.
Right.
But
exactly.
I think that's a conversation that we can have with our kids, which is that you need to be confident enough to be a follower, to be a great team member. Your proficiency as a supporter emanates from your being comfortable to sometimes being in the background.
I love that. Yes. Sorry, Brandon, I think you're not on mute because I keep picking up. Okay. Sorry. Rob, well, I really appreciate it. Especially, I love that beautiful analogy of just, yes, you can actually look at your family unit as that band or as that sports team and really drive home to them each child's integral part and contribution to the family. How else can our listeners either reach out to you if they need, want more good information, or how can they find
Oh yeah. So certainly anybody who wants to reach out to me for any professional exchanges, LinkedIn is a great way. Rob
Okay.
Price at Youth Enrichment Brands, and to learn more about our the various businesses that we have in youth enrichment, come to yeb.com. And my advice to everybody is that as you're thinking about this as parents, is that we have to have the confidence to be patient with our kids, growing competence more slowly.
Right.
So I'm always eager to talk to people more about this topic, whether it's academic or professional, whether it's nonprofit or for profit. And thanks for including me in the dialogue.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. I appreciate all of your experience and knowledge for coming to the table. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's it for this week's edition of Project Parenthood. Remember to be curious, open, accepting, kind, and not judgmental on your conscious parenting journey. If you have any questions about this episode, about your parenting journey, and/or topics you'd like to hear more about, please reach out to parenthood@quickanddirtytips.com or leave a message at 646-926-3243. Project Parenthood is a Quick and Dirty Tips podcast. Thanks to the team at Quick and Dirty Tips, Holly Hutchings, Davina Tomlin, Morgan Christensen, and Brandon Getchus. May you be happy, safe and protected, healthy and strong, and live with ease.